Mark Rogers TV going to the Pac-12 to talk some Arizona State football with the Sun Devils diving into play this Saturday against the Kaelen Golden Bears. We're bringing Kaelen Jones from House of Sparky to talk the Sun Devils. So, Kaelen, your beloved team almost dropped to the Conference USA opponent, 16 down. So you can take the good side or you can take the bad side in regards to playing a sloppy game, but at the same time also playing a comeback effort that requires both offense and defense to get together and really play much dominant football late in the game to overcome a 16-point deficit. So just your thoughts about what you saw out there.
Well, it's definitely disappointing to see them, be in that situation up until the second half. But like you pointed out, Coach Graham actually pointed out today, Mark, during his presser, it's been 10 or 15 years, he said that he explains this to teams. You have to be able to pull out the close games. Granted, they were down by 20 or 17 or however much it was going into the fourth quarter. The score, to rattle off 20 straight points, I don't care who it is. I mean, it could be FCS, it could be Division I, Alabama, for all I care. For them to be able to show that kind of grit and pull it out at the end, that is something positive you can take going forward with this team and with the unit that up until this point hasn't really been able to say they've been at full strength. That's something else that Todd Graham pointed out in his conference. I think that you're going to see a different, or the identity of this team is really, stick to what we do, and not really worry about all the noise on the outside. Against NAU, they pulled out the 44-13 win and got criticized for it. Against Texas Tech, allowed 55 points, but they dropped 68 themselves. So I think that it's kind of intertwined into this team's identity, where they're going to hear a lot, they're going to get a lot of backlash. There's going to be, struggle. There's nothing that's going to come easy with this team. And I think that they've kind of accepted it, they're okay with it. And as long as they're pulling out the W's, I mean, why should they care? Yeah,
so looking ahead to Cal, you finished the non-conference schedule at 3-0. That's the goal. You got through the entire non-conference slate. You move on to the Pac-12, 9 difficult opponents. It starts with Cal, probably coming off the Pac-12's biggest win, non-conference schedule, 50-43 at home against Texas, a wild one there. Your defense coming off a game in which they were a bit nicked up through 3 quarters, but really drove it home in the final 5 possessions, just giving up 1 first down. Your thoughts about taking on this Cal offense that we know from Sonny Dykes and with Davis Webb coming in from Texas Tech is going to be difficult to deal with?
Yeah, it is going to be difficult to deal with. Looking at Cal in comparison to Texas Tech, going into this one, Cal's going to run the ball a lot more. You got 2 talented running backs in Kalfani Muhammad and Vic Wary. Obviously, Muhammad presenting the speed and, the home run factor at running back, and then Wary bringing in the power. I think that's going to be something that ASU, for the first time this entire season, will be going up against when you're talking about talent and depth at the running back position. Texas Tech, obviously, they have their lead back Stockton was pretty good, but there wasn't the depth that Cal has when you're even talking about Trey Watson being a third option for them. But aside from Davis Webb, and talking about Davis Webb, a guy who threw for over 400 yards, I believe he threw for over 300 against ASU in his first matchup back in the 2013 Holiday Bowl. But going up into a matchup like this, when he has explosive playmakers on the outside, like Chad Hansen, people that can kind of take the top off of a defense, where you've seen ASU throughout the first couple of weeks, they haven't necessarily been exposed. There's been 2 or 3 plays where there's been miscommunication in the secondary, or there's been poor tackling out in space, but nothing too, extreme. I think this is the game where the point can be driven that their secondary isn't as bad as people say it is. It's more of a bend but don't break approach. They only rush 4 or 5 players on over 70% of the time. 70% of the time, they're only rushing 4 to 5 players. So I wouldn't be surprised at all to see Cal statistically have the success that they have. But I think going into this matchup against David Webb, he's someone who can beat himself. We saw him make mistakes against San Diego State, especially towards the end of that game when his team had a chance. Obviously, he made the plays to get them back into that situation. But I think going into this matchup, if ASU can just kind of stay composed, stick to their fundamentals, then I think they'll be able to outlast this sort of Cal attack, even though I do expect it to be pretty high scoring and statistically on paper to look like ASU's defense didn't do as well as it probably did.
Yeah, that dreaded Holiday Bowl from a few years ago comes back up. So we talked about it a few weeks ago when you took on Texas Tech, and now again, that didn't even connect with me, having watched that game at the time. And, of course, Davis Webb coming in from Texas Tech hit up the Texas Longhorns for just about 400 yards and 4 touchdowns. He is a difficult assignment there. He can spin the ball. There, he can spin it downfield. There's no doubt about that. So Kaelen Ballage, 8 touchdowns against Texas Tech. That's what everybody's going to remember now for the rest of his career, and that's not a bad thing. Did have trouble getting on track. Did score the game-winning touchdown, but before that, not a stellar game for him. We think passing, especially when we think Cal, Davis Webb. We do as well from a national perspective for Arizona State, but you guys are at your best when you're running the football.
Yeah, they certainly are. And I think going up against a run defense that has struggled to stop the run going into this week, I think ASU should be able to find some success. Campbell, actually, it's funny. I saw Campbell Lodge in the elevator today going up to Graham's presser, and I asked him how he's doing. He's like, I'm sore. So, and going up into that match against UTSA, he hasn't really had too many carries a game. He's yet to have a game where he's ran or rushed the ball over 20 times up to this point, even after the 8-scored touchdown game mark. So I think eventually that's going to change, but between Demar Richard and Kaelen Ballage, I think you're going to see them run the ball at least combined 35, 40 times going into this matchup. I wouldn't be surprised at all if ASU takes a more conservative approach if they feel like their defense isn't capable of slowing down the Cal offense. I think they'll be the ones who can dictate the clock, whether they want to keep the ball out of Davis Webb's hands or not. So establishing the run early on will definitely be important. But that also goes hand in hand with establishing the passing game. When you're talking about Manny Wilkins, what the RPO system does for them. Tim White, him being back will be big and key for that running game as well, because it kind of opens everything up for them, at least run the ball between the tackles. What they do is like they try to spread the ball on the outside, get the ball into Tim White's hands, get on the perimeter and N'Keal Harry, get a lot of the pass option stuff going, and then allow the running backs to try to hammer the ball and get between the tackles. And ASU's offensive line to this point, they definitely look conditioned or well conditioned enough to, build towards the end of games where they've been able to, be relied upon. Granted, they've been without their starting right tackle who returns this week in Zach Robertson. So I think when you're talking about the running game and its importance, I think everything that the running game will do will be set up through the passing game, so to speak, this week, especially against a team that, is sort of susceptible against the run.
Kaelen, bad hosting here. I apologize. Forgetting that you just came from the Todd Graham press conference.
Oh, you're fine.
I know that he made comments after the game about this team being making youthful mistakes. So the negative was, hey, this should not have been the kind of game that it was. We made youthful mistakes. Maybe we were a bit cocky. I think a few players actually made that comment that they might have overlooked Texas San Antonio. On the bright side, yes, the perseverance and adversity in getting through the 16-point deficit to win the game late can help you down the road. Anything else that he had to say in regards to last week or coming into this game? Anything that caught your ear?
Well, I mean, we could talk about N'Keal Harry and how great he is. Right now, he leads the team in receptions with 15 for 181 yards, 2 touchdowns. He's yet to break the 100-yard mark, but he's Pro Football Focus's highest-rated receiver going into this week, and I'm not surprised at all. He's really the complete package. When you talk about, or when I just talked about how, UTSA took away the RPO last game where, there was no Tim White. They were forcing ASU to kind of throw the ball downfield, and consistently N'Keal Harry was able to get open and kind of stretch defenses and make plays, even though he was being forced to do something different than what we're accustomed to seeing his skill set being used to do. So I think going forward, this is someone who ASU is definitely going to be able to rely upon, and in the future is going to be an extreme talented playmaker moving forward.
Yeah, you definitely set us up on N'Keal Harry throughout the offseason in regards to what we could expect out of him. 5 catches, 78 yards against Texas Antonio, including a 27-yarder and a touchdown. All right, Kaelen, we know that on the site you should probably have predictions for us and obviously previews throughout the week, so we'll be looking forward to those. Kaelen Jones from House of Sparky setting us up on Cal and Arizona State. Thanks a lot, Kaelen.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Mark.